Being a Longhorn is opportunity, pride, achievement, community, safety. Being a Longhorn is a choice to become a hero, to lead, to thrive in any setting. Being a Longhorn means immersing yourself in fine arts, learning at your own pace in Montessori, starting your path to college in elementary, earning a college degree in high school. The pride of being a Longhorn lives on long after graduation. Educate, empower, inspire.
Good evening once again. My name is Alicia Davis, Director of Family and Community Engagement with Cedar Hill ISD, and welcome to our second Trustee Connections virtual community meeting. Trustees will walk you through the Lone Star governance process, review the roles and responsibility of the trustees and superintendent, take a look at the policy review and adoption process, and address questions related to Lone Star governance and policy at the end of the presentation. If you do submit a question that is unrelated to this presentation, it may not be asked. Any question that is selected to be asked, it will appear on the screen, and inappropriate commenters will be temporarily banned from submitting additional questions or comments. So with that, please again, keep questions related to Lone Star governance and policy once you've heard the entire presentation. And now, Board President Wesley will start us off.
Good evening, everybody. I am Cheryl Wesley, honored to be the president of the School Board of Trustees here in Cedar Hill. I'm joined this evening by Trustee Gail Sims, who is the board secretary, and Trustee Ramona Ross-Bacon. We are trustees who serve on the policy committee. Our other fellow board members, Vice President Robert Riggs, Dr. Keisha Langford, Dr. Jeremiah Martin, and Dr. Denise Rocha Davis are not with us this evening, but they are listening in and will participate in future Trustee Connection community meetings. Within the framework of state and federal law and the State Board of Education, as well as Commissioner of Education rules, CHISD has significant latitude in shaping the educational programs of our schools. The operation of the school districts at the local level is also a shared activity. The role of the school board members and the role of the superintendent are different. The trustees govern the district, but it does so with the advice of the superintendent, Dr. Gerald Hudson. Dr. Hudson manages the district, but he must do so with the oversight and management of trustees and within the framework of policies and priorities your board adopts. The board functions as a body and only has authority through adopted policies and when we are taking action in a called meeting. Because the board cannot operate within the day-to-day context, we by law hire a superintendent who is the only employee of the board. The superintendent, per state law, serves as the CEO to manage and oversee the day-to-day operation or functions of the school district. The superintendent hires and organizes staff to assist in the conduct of the day-to-day business.
Hello, I'm Ramona Ross-Bacon, and the motto for the CHISD is to educate, empower, and to inspire. Our vision is to unlock every Longhorn's potential, and our mission is to develop resilient scholars who excel academically and are empowered to serve. And these are some of the recently approved new mission, vision, and motto for the CHISD. So the purpose of the Trustee Connection, we have the goals for these meetings is to update our community on our Lone Star governance progress. Most importantly, engage with our community on the progress of our student outcome goals. And you can expect for us as a board to hold these virtual meetings each quarter, and different trustees will attend each meeting. We will review our Lone Star governance progress and discuss topics affecting our scholars, staff, and family. And tonight we will discuss policies.
Good evening, everyone. I am Gail Sims. I'm the secretary of the board. What I want to talk to you about a little bit is Lone Star governance. You've probably heard that so many times. I think we mention it at each one of our meetings, that this is what we are doing, Lone Star governance. The intention of Lone Star governance is to provide a continuous improvement framework for our board in collaboration with Dr. Hudson. Everything we do, we want to make sure that he is a part of all that we are putting together for our district. Our board chose to participate in Lone Star governance work because we're committed to intensifying our focus on one primary objective: improving student outcomes. We'll talk about those a little bit later in the presentation. Texas school districts and charters are overseen by school boards. The boards of independent school districts are elected by the citizens, those of you who have elected us, of their communities, while the boards of charter schools are appointed. In each instance, the school board oversees the management of the district or charter school and ensures that the superintendent implements and monitors district operations. The board and superintendent work together to bring about the best education possible for the scholars that we serve. To ensure boards carry out their jobs appropriately, school trustees are required to receive training in laws and rules of the state education system. We have to have this in order to ensure and make sure that we are following the rules and guidelines that have been set before us. As you can see on the slide here, we align with TEA, the Texas Education Association, scholar outcomes and measurements. We share our good things at the state level, and sometimes that allows us to be able to share those same things with other districts and to impact on the state and national levels as well. Our continuous improvement framework and guiding statements are codified in our board policies that we'll talk about a little bit later. Can you go back just a little bit? Go back, yes. This assures scholar improvement and continued district success through effective policy. Now, Lone Star governance. Lone Star governance is a TEA developed continuous improvement framework for school boards in collaboration with the superintendent and the team to focus intentionally on improving student outcomes, improving student outcomes, through points of Texas framework. What we have in Lone Star governance are five different improvement framework. I'm sorry. I'm trying to read something and look at it. Okay?
It's all right. It's all right.
Let me see. We have vision, accountability, structure, unity, advocacy. As a part of that, on the vision, what the board ensures creation of a shared vision that promotes enhanced student achievement. We have, Ms. Ross Bacon just told you what our vision is that we have set for the district, and in monitoring and setting student outcome goals through development of our superintendent and board constraints that set guidelines for our non-negotiables. These constraints define actions and behaviors that are prohibited and non-negotiable. They support and align with the vision and with community values. Our structure provides guidance and direction for accomplishing the vision. The board provides guidance and direction for accomplishing the vision by being mindful of and tracking the way the board spends its time during public meetings. Another is accountability. The board measures and communicates how well the vision is being accomplished. We do this by utilizing a monitoring report related to the student outcome goals and constraints, and through superintendent evaluation and board evaluation. We don't want to just point the finger at him. We want to make sure that we are looking and making sure we are following through with what we have set. Another one is advocacy. The board promotes the vision. And we do this through communication with the community, what we're doing right now through our Lone Star governance training and recognition of student outcome goal accomplishments. I know you're hearing that term, student outcome goals, a lot. That is one of the bases for what we are doing Lone Star governance on. Our final one is unity. And the board works with the superintendent to lead the district toward the vision by adhering to all training, all policies regarding board operating procedures, and by maintaining the quarterly progress tracker. These 5 categories are broken out into a rubric by which the board can track and measure its progress from does not meet focus to master's focus. And with that, we'll talk a little bit about the constraints.
Constraints. Thank you. So the board has a specific role and responsibilities to the district and to our constituents, to you. We've developed restraints to ensure collectively or individually that we stay focused on our goals and our responsibilities. And these are called restraints, or you will hear constraints. Now these words describe the mindset that we as the board has adopted as part of our Lone Star governance framework for improving student outcomes. And you see the statement. School boards use this Lone Star governance instrument to self-evaluate, as Trustee Sims was saying. We want to evaluate our own selves in our performance every 3 months. Now, this provides a frequent and rational means of determining our growth, our adult behavior change toward being intensely focused on the reason school boards and school systems exist, and that is to improve student outcomes. As a board, we've adopted student outcome goals as well as constraints that may prohibit the successful attainment of these goals. These are the 4 goals we as a board set down, and as a district, we will monitor and focus on. There are only 4 that we'll focus on. And our newest trustee, Trustee Ross Bacon, will share those with you.
Guiding statement and our student outcome goal. Our goals are written to be specific, measurable, attainable, results-focused, and time-bound. Equally important are the adult behavior changes that will drive the student outcome. We have included the annual targets. This is where we want to be at the end of the represented school years. You will also see an example of our goal progress measures for this student outcome goal. This is a measure that allows us to check along the way that we are on track to meet our ultimate 2021 student outcome goal. We know that if our scholars are scoring well on the SAT and the ACT, they are more likely to be accepted to higher educational institutions. So on the next slide, here is a look at our second student outcome goal and the annual targets, which indicate where we want to be at the end of the represented school years. You will also see an example of our goal progress measures for this student outcome goal. And we will monitor student performance on Achieve 3000, which is the literacy assessment we use across the district.
Okay. Then next you see our goal number 3, which is to increase the percentage of Algebra 1 scholars scoring meets or above. On this one, you notice that here is a look at our third student outcome goal and the annual targets, which indicate where we want to be at the end of the represented school years. You'll see start with 1920 and we go through 23-24. And these are the goals that we are measuring. You'll see an example of our goal progress measure for this student outcome goal. We will monitor the percentage of scholars at or above the meets grade level on the NWEA math. That is the Northwest Evaluation Association's measure of academic progress in math. And here is goal number 4, to increase the percentage of scholars participating in extracurricular or co-curricular activities. It shows our student outcome goals and the annual targets as well, which indicate where we want to be at the end of the represented school years. You'll see an example of our goal progress measure for this student outcome goal. We will monitor the percentage of scholars participating in clubs and or organizations at elementary. We firmly believe that a student that is active becomes totally engaged in their school by being in extracurricular and co-curricular activities. We are wanting to work with the whole student.
Thank you very much, trustees, for this valuable information. During the next portion of this Trustees Connections session, we will take a look at policy. Joining us for this discussion is CHISD's Chief of Staff, Ms. Janine Fields.
Well, we want to start off with why we have policy. And first of all, probably one of the first things I want to say is we don't just make up policies to make up policies to try and hold people down or anything. We are obligated to make sure we have policies so that we are doing things systemically and that what we are doing is across the board. There's no favoritism, nothing like that. We are doing things across the board. We have policies, you can see, to respond to legal requirements. The federal government, the state government, all of them meet, and there are legal requirements that we have to meet in order to have policy, and we put that in policy. It's to reduce potential legal risk. That's for you, that's for us, that's for everybody. It declares the district choices among legal options, and then it clarifies or delegates administrative authority. In other words, we're talking about when we make a policy, how are we going to go about administering that policy? You can find our policies, just real quickly, if you go into the CHISD link on the internet, if you will go to the school board link, you will find all of the board policies listed in there. Our policies are broken down into legal, local, exhibit, and regulations. Legal policies summarize the law on a topic, and we just can't move away from that. We have to have those. They are compiled by TASB, the Texas Association of School Boards Legal Services and Policy Service, to provide the legal framework for key areas of district operations. As you can see, and it's underlined, they are not adopted by the board. Those just are policy. Local policies outline local board mandates regarding governance issues. As far as some of those governance issues, it's how the board is to operate, how we're supposed to operate with personnel. There are many different governance issues that come through those local policies. A standard policy is one that TASB creates, standardized policy statements, and taking into consideration common responses to choices allowed by statute. And then we have unique policies. The district may occasionally need to further tailor the policy statements to match local practices, creating a unique policy. If you go in and look at policies, you will see that any unique policy is indicated by an X at the bottom of the policy. Unique policies are strictly for us to define Cedar Hill ISD. We don't operate like some of the other districts on certain things. We have to do what's best for our district. Exhibits. TASB occasionally creates exhibits, forms, legally cited documents, or contact information for key district personnel specific to a policy. This is so people know who you need to contact, how you need to do it. Exhibits are reviewed by the board, but not adopted. And then regulation, an administrative document that defines policy implementation or related procedure. This is often not included in the online manual. What the board does is we will approve policies and then turn them over to administration to determine how those policies will be implemented. They implement those policies based upon what we have approved.
Thank you, Trustee Sims. Good evening. I'm Janine Fields. I'm the Chief of Staff for the district, and I lead the district policy work. And I'd like to share with you what this policy update process actually looks like in practice. So to begin, what prompts a district to change policy? The first reason we revise local policy is due to a periodic numbered policy update that we receive from TASB. As TASB monitors decisions made by Congress, TEA, the Texas legislature, or courts, that often results in a legal policy change. And when that legal policy change happens, then they prompt a revision in local policy. The numbered updates usually include a wide range of topics all at one time. For example, we're currently reviewing the most recent update, Update 116. This one is smaller in size than most and only includes 5 different local policy changes, and we anticipate reviewing them with the board in February. We also have changes in practices, priorities, staffing, or emerging local issues that surface a need for careful review or a change in how we respond to a legal policy. That actually happened earlier this year with Board Policy AE Local. As our board approved our student outcome goals and we implemented our new continuous improvement model, the cadence of accountability, our local policy needed to reflect that. So we did propose a change to AE Local, took it to our board policy committee, and eventually it was approved by our board at a board meeting. So once a policy has been identified for review, our district committee makes recommendations for the Board of Trustees. We begin by contacting TASB for that suggested standardized policy language that's already been approved by attorneys. We then convene a representative group of district committees, depending on what the actual policy pertains to, making sure that we have all the right people around the table giving input and advice into the development of a policy. We review the draft policy provided to us by TASB. We determine any implications of revision. So what does this actually mean for the district? And we assess whether or not the standard policy actually meets the intended need. We also plan how the policy changes will be communicated throughout the rest of the district and to the community if necessary. We determine if staff training is needed and if any internal documents or manuals need revision, or if some of those regulations that Trustee Sims mentioned earlier need to be drafted. Once we are confident we have a quality recommendation, we convene the Board of Trustees Policy Committee. The final step of the process is where the trustees on the Board Policy Committee have the opportunity to analyze the proposed policy. They ask clarifying questions of the District Policy Committee, and they ensure a thorough review to make sure that we are making decisions in the best interest of the district. If the trustees have questions or concerns that are unresolved, then the District Committee may continue making revisions and conduct some further research. But if the committee approves the proposal, the policy is then placed on the board agenda for final approval at the next board meeting. And that concludes our district policy revision process.
All right, thank you so much, Chief Fields. This is the time where you all are able to submit your questions. So if you are watching us live on either YouTube or Facebook, if you have any questions about this presentation regarding policy as it relates to Lone Star governance and what you have heard this evening, we would love to hear from you and hear your questions. And again, if you submit a question that isn't related to the topic, it may not be asked, but this is the time to submit your questions. We're excited to get them. But with that, I will say these sessions are done quarterly for the most part. We did our first Trustees Connection session last semester, and I believe it was in October. That was the first one we did. We're doing one this month, and then we'll actually likely do 2 more this particular semester. So we hope that you will tune in for those as well. We do have some viewers watching live right now, so if you have any questions, get to type in so our esteemed board members can answer. While we wait, does anyone want to say anything?
You know, Ms. Davis, just one thing I wanted to say about our Lone Star governance. When we first started this, we've been doing this now for a little over a year. We started in November of last year with Lone Star governance. And when we first started looking at those different areas, we were really not, we were at zeros, really. And we have worked, this board has worked very diligently over the past year to get us moving forward and get us in line with what Lone Star governance has for us. And working very hard as a team of 8, working together collaboratively and getting everything, that framework all in order so that as a board, we are operating together and operating in a way that is totally focused on student outcome goals.
Thank you, Trustee Sims. All right, we do have a question from Ms. Montgomery from Facebook. The question reads, have you adopted an evaluation process? And if so, will the Lone Star Governance Integrity Instrument be available for parents and scholars to view? Anyone want to take that?
Yes, there is an evaluation process that the board goes through. There is an integrity instrument that we use that we're looking at. I don't know if it's up on the website right now, but there is an instrument that we use that it's a rubric that we're using where we score ourselves. So we have been. It's very, very focused on what we need to do as a board. President Wesley, you want to add a little bit more on that?
Yeah. The first thing I thought about when Alicia read the question is that before Lone Star governance, we were just kind of frailing. We were all over the place, really not knowing what to look for. You know, we would get some information at the beginning of the school year, talk about it really quickly, midterm, and then at the end of the school year, we got these results, and we were surprised because we weren't specific enough. So the Lone Star governance gave us an opportunity to be able to know the language and then to know what to look for. So now we have our quarterly progress trackers or monitors. So every 3 months, we get to look at the success of our scholars or the failure of our scholars. And the thing about the instrument that we're using, it's not only tells you what's happening at the third grade level in, say, reading, it shows us what those deficiencies are, and then it affords the administration opportunities to say what they're going to do to correct those before the next quarter. So it's very telling. It doesn't just say what's wrong, but it says how are we going to correct what we're seeing ahead of us. So the monitoring tool has been very successful for us. Again, in the past, we really didn't know what to look for other than success. But because we have the pillars of the Lone Star governance, and because we have these tools, we know what to do, we know what to ask for, and we know how to challenge our administration to do what's best for our scholars. So yes, they will be made available. As a matter of fact, this last month, we had a report. We weren't really pleased with what we saw, but we knew because of that monitoring tool, we know what we're up against and we know what the challenges are, but we also know what we're going to do, what the administration is doing to correct those. So yes, go ahead.
I just pulled up the website, and our quarterly progress tracker is on the website. If you go to the school board link, the quarterly progress trackers are there, and it shows you exactly what we are looking at.
Thank you. And I'll try to pull that up, actually, so that might be helpful. This same parent states, thank you for this open forum. It is appreciated. This seems to be a really exciting tool. I look forward to hearing more on the outcome. Do you want me to go and pull it up, Trustee Sims?
Trustee Wesley, are you good with that? I'm fine.
Pull it up, absolutely do it. And while you're doing that, we want everybody to know that Trustee Sims mentioned how we've been really working hard to get some kind of tool that will help us so we can help our administration and our scholars. And I want to say that our newer trustees, Trustee Ross Bacon, Trustee Dr. Martin, and Trustee Dr. Roach Davis, came in feet first, eager and ready and willing to learn and to catch up, if you will, what Lone Star governance is all about. So they're all in tune to what we've been doing, and they too appreciate the effort. Again, because it's a tool for us to see where we were, which in most cases was a zero. We didn't have the vision, the motto. We didn't have that. We were still operating under the old one from a superintendent that's been gone for a few years. So because of Lone Star governance being like a mirror, it helped us to see what our deficiencies were as a board. And once the board understood what our real role was as things progressed, then it afforded our administration, our superintendent, to get on board and to do what we needed. We became aligned. So now we're speaking the same language. And that wasn't always the case. They knew what we wanted in terms of successful scholars, but they didn't know what our vision was. So we had to cast a vision for them to come alongside and work with us.
All right. Thank you, President Wesley. Let's see. Well, we still do have some more viewers. If there are any other questions that you would like to ask away, and we will have answers for you this evening. Now I'm pulling this up. Let's see. Or does anyone have anything they want to share while we wait? Okay.
I might just say on our student outcome goals, please know that with this COVID, things have just put us kind of in a box. I want to take my hat off to the administration, to our superintendent, to our teachers for all the work that they are doing, they are still looking at those student outcome goals, but they're trying to do this now with COVID in a totally different environment. Yet, if you see your students, teachers, or whatever, give them a pat on the back because they are doing tremendous work.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Trustee Sims. You're so correct. Our teachers are on the front lines, and they've had to reimagine educating our scholars in the midst of everything that's been going on around them. There have been a lot of deficiencies in terms of technology. There have been deficiencies in so many areas. But the thing is, it's not just our district, it's so many others. But we love our teachers. They have done phenomenally. And they're so committed to our scholars. And we appreciate parents as well because you've been there, you've been our partners. And we couldn't do what we're doing without you. And we know it's still challenging. We still have a lot to accomplish. And we're committed to doing all we can to ensure that our scholars are successful.
Thank you. I did find
Yes.
the tracker.
That is it.
It is so tiny.
I'm sorry. Let's see. I could be able to make it larger. Yes.
Yes.
Is that better? Sorry.
It's not just, I'm on my phone, so
Oh.
that's okay. It's gonna always be tiny. But that's it. And we've done a lot of work in a few short months. We've had to work. And, it's funny, too. And Trustee Ross Bacon could attest to that. When we were running for school board, we assumed we would have 2 meetings a month. But because of Lone Star governance, we're there on Saturdays sometimes for hours. We're there in the evenings. We have appointments or committee meetings during the course of the day. And it just goes to show that the trustees are committed. We are committed to doing whatever it takes. We're using the data. We're talking to our administrators. We're listening to them. And we're trying to work collaboratively to move our district forward. But it takes more than an hour or two twice a month.
Yeah.
And also these, the measures that you just saw, they are presented at the school board meetings. So when we have our school board meetings that are posted, it would be very informative for you if you would log on or even come to the Kennedy room to some of our meetings. And sometimes we have them on the 3rd floor of the conference room at the government center. So, you're more than welcome to come in and participate in it. So everything that you just saw, you will see it at the meetings.
Thank you for that.
Now, I'm not seeing any other questions being posed. So that might mean it's time to go.
Thank you to who was on here and asked the questions.
Ms. Montgomery, yes.
Yes, we appreciate hearing from you.
Yes.
And we do have other viewers, but they may just not have questions right now. They're just watching us and getting the information, and maybe later on they'll send us some emails or something of that nature, and we can address it then. We do want to thank you for joining us this evening. It is always a pleasure to spend our time with our parents, our community, our students, just our staff. So we certainly appreciate you all for viewing tonight. And with that, I will go ahead and end the broadcast. Oh, and Ms. Montgomery says, thank you. So we thank you. We thank you for your engagement.
We thank everybody.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
All right. Everybody stay safe.
All right.